Hello, how you doing? Self-care shorts, 2025 season. I'm losing track of where we're at now. I think this is episode 6, and you catch me about a lighter. What are these called? Incense sticks. I wanted to call them a joss stick. Is that right, or is that old-fashioned? Anyway, I'm going to light that because I do like. It's one of my little self-care strategies that when I'm about to focus on something, or when I want to create a kind of here I go. One of my routines is to make coffee. I put on a particular type of music called lo-fi, although I don't for this because YouTube freaks out if you've got somebody else's music playing in the background. And I'll light an incense stick to get that lovely smell going on. And sometimes it's all we need. Sometimes all we need is these, or are these indicators to tell ourselves that it doesn't want to light. Typical. It doesn't want to light. It's lighting now, I think. We just need these indicators to tell ourselves that. And now when I put lo-fi music on, it kind of has a calming, ready for work, ready to be productive kind of feel about it. There, I have smoke, so that's all good. So you won't be able to smell it because this is like a video, and that's not how it works yet. That's not how it works yet. You never know. You never know, do you? You never know. We'll have a thing on our computers that'll eventually kind of permeate the smell of the other person's room to you. Anyway, we're talking about the book still, Pillars of Success for Social Workers, and as I've said many times before, when I've been doing these, don't matter if you're not a social worker, because we're just doing key ideas. The book I've happened to have focused on social workers, although if you were to read it as a non-social worker, you'd get loads of stuff out of it, I'm sure. So have a dodge over to Amazon and buy yourself a copy. So today we're talking about what is well-being. Now here's the thing. Now then, I would hope that you social workers out there, particularly the adult social workers, all the social workers out there are adults. You're not allowed to be a child and be a social worker. Or social workers who work with adults. You'll be all over this. You'll not need to watch this one because you'll know exactly what well-being is, because the Care Act is underpinned by the well-being principle. So obviously all social workers working with adults will know what well-being is, because the very legislation you work under is underpinned by this concept of human flourishing that we call well-being. However, it's so problematic. What is it? And the first thing to say is, when we think about what is it, is, well, for you, it'll be whatever it is for you, and it'll be whatever it is for me. The thing that makes us in well-being, if you like, is going to be very nuanced and very different for all of us. For some people, it could well be watching kind of Ant and Dec on the telly, or watching Gladiators. Why on earth has that come back? It could very well be those things. You might sit there on Saturday night watching Gladiators or Ant and Dec or whatever and think, I feel so in well-being now. My well-being is enhanced by these two Geordie cheeky chappies on the telly, or people pummeling each other with them big sticks, kind of thing. Now, for me, that would just wind me up completely, and I would not be in well-being, etc., etc. You get the idea. So it's a term that we all instinctively kind of understand, and social workers with adults should be all over this. But I think and that's why it's interesting. I think anyway, that's why it's interesting that the Care Act is rooted in this principle, because what the bloody hell is it? Do you know what I mean? What is it? What is it? How can we go about our business as social workers with adults and know we're enhancing somebody's well-being? Well, they'll tell us, I suppose. That's the key thing, isn't it? They'll tell us whether their well-being is enhanced. But anyway, so at its core, well-being is holistic. To use the word from last time, we were talking about holistic productivity last time. To use the word from last time, the well-being is a kind of holistic state that pulls together the physical, the mental, the emotional, the social, and the spiritual dimension. That's not to take it off down a religious route. I think we all kind of, or lots of us will understand what we mean by spiritual well-being without it, but about an inner voice, an inner compass, a value-driven kind of thing, our spirituality, you know, that thing that it might be religious for you, and that's great. It might not be. It might just be when you hear a certain sort of music or whatever, you just feel something move within you. Well, let's call that spirit. So it's balancing. Well-being is flourishing with all of those things, broadly speaking, in balance. We're cultivating a state that leads towards flourishing, or, as Carl Rogers put it probably best, self-actualization. And it's also at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Self-actualization. We've arrived at well-being, and we're the best version of ourselves we can be. We're feeling that. We're in well-being. It's absolutely fabulous. Physical well-being is probably the easiest one to kind of define. You know, it's not the absence of ill health necessarily, but in a coming together, rooted in what we can do: regular exercise, good nutrition, and sufficient rest, and engaging in those at the level that we can. Some people can engage in exercise more than others, obviously, but you know, it's about bringing those things together, and feeling physically well as a consequence of that. You know, like I say, not absent necessarily of illness, because some people live with health problems and might feel in physical well-being, I suppose. You know, I suppose I'm just trying to think of an example. I have or have had in the past. I'm on medication for high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation, so heart-related things. But I feel very much in well-being, even though I've got a kind of well-managed kind of condition, you know. So it's not necessarily about not having these things, having none of these things. It's about just kind of feeling physically well. You know what I mean? Within whatever's going on, having taken enough exercise, eating really well, and actually we've just been away for the weekend. So and I was talking to Christine about this, my good lady wife, and I said, whenever we come away, we always eat lots of bread, lots of cheese, and lots of sugary snacks, and then by the time I'm coming to go home after 3 or 4 days away, I just feel ill, not in well-being. And then I come home and I revert back to me normal diet, you know, which is I'm a vegetarian, so it's very veg heavy, fruit heavy, eggs, you know, all that kind of stuff. I don't eat much bread at all. There's something about going away, it makes me eat lots of bread and cheese and sugary snacks, and all of those make me feel just not very good at all. So I come home not feeling in physical well-being, but then here I am, literally just the next day, having eaten a more normal diet yesterday and today, and I'm starting to feel great again. Everything's, without getting into too many details, everything is starting to function well and work well. So anyway, so there's a physical dimension to this concept of well-being. There's also a mental and emotional dimension to it, crucial, I would say. And as you will probably know, there's an interaction between the physical and the mental, and people who are physically unwell, it tends to affect their mental health, often their emotional well-being, and people who are mentally mentally unwell or emotionally unwell, often that manifests itself as physical problems. There's a definite connection, well written about. So mental and emotional well-being, it's what is it? Well, it's a capacity to manage stress, probably whatever nuanced bit of stress we're talking about there. Maintaining a positive outcome, cultivating a growth mindset, which we'll come to, and seeing things as opportunities to grow rather than challenges to set us back. And I think, you know, the physical stuff is about exercise, nutrition, and rest, as we said. This dimension is practices such as meditation, which leads to mindfulness, maybe reflective journaling, which is a type of meditation, I suppose. You're meditating on something, I'd argue there. And if we invest time in understanding our emotions through these processes, or with meditation, putting our emotions to one side, if we do that, we develop a deeper awareness of what matters to us, and it supports our emotional regulation and our balance, that balance again. And my favourite phrase that I like to use is, when we've dealt with this area of our well-being, we become more agile with our emotions. We are more able to flex emotionally, as well as physically, if we're dealing with the physical stuff. So we can flex physically, and we can flex emotionally. So when you're facing challenges, you're able to flex those emotions. And then there's the social dimension, which we kind of touched on last time. This psychological safety in the workplace or in your family, where this idea that no man is an island, no person is an island, and that connection to others is really, really important. I go and see my friend Gareth in Edinburgh, and we talk online every few weeks, but being in the same space is very different, very different. And it's the same with Jamie, my friend Jamie. We talk because we kind of work, because we work together. I should say because we kind of work together. We do actually work together. We work together, work from home a lot, so we do this kind of thing online, but then it's very different when you're physically in the same space as somebody. So that social dimension is really important, and despite the fact that I'm a fan of home working, because I think it's good for certain things, certainly lunch shared with, or a conversation with, or a collaborative meeting with somebody or the team or whatever, do contribute to a deeper sense of belonging. So it's about fostering those moments for well-being. I'd argue that lots of meetings only serve to cause problems for our well-being. But there you go. That's a whole other episode. And then there's this spiritual dimension, whatever that means to you, and it's a hard thing to define, isn't it? Spirituality for me isn't about religion anymore. It's about just being connected to a higher purpose, a higher idea. That I'm not just here to do the daily grind of do the job and then eat my meals and put food on the table, all those kind of things that are just the day-to-day grind stuff. It's the fact that actually, and this buys into that. I'm trying to get messages out there so people can feel better about stuff and better about themselves and look after themselves and all that kind of stuff. It's that eudaimonia, actually. It's that eudaimonia we were talking about before, that good spirit, something beyond fleeting pleasures. So yeah, and all of those things are connected. That's why my life why, which you'll remember from a couple of episodes back, I think it was, my life why is to live at the intersection between mind, spirit and body, because it's all connected. It's absolutely all connected. So well-being is a dynamic, and it's an evolving process. It's not like a destination to be achieved. It's all about self-discovery, adaptation. As circumstances change, we change by employing tactics, strategies to meet the demands. And that's what the book's all about, I suppose, because the bulk of the book is about strategies to meet the productivity demands that are placed in our way, I suppose. So, in a world where we're bombarded with messages that equate our success with like capitalist measures of wealth, I think we've got to remember that true well-being encompasses all of those areas of our lives, including making money, because money, I would argue, and literature does, that money doesn't make you happy, but we live in a world where you have to have it one way or another, because we live in a capitalist society, and in reality there aren't many other options, because that's the society we live in, at least here in the UK and many other countries. So it's the sum of feeling good, functioning well, and connecting deeply. There you go. Take care. See you next time.